shit internet apologists say.
I think you're muted, Malty.
All right, Watchmen decree. It's a new canon for Christofascists.
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia, what do you think about this? It's a we're talking about um, I don't know that this stuff really scares me. Flashpoint
It
Live,
should.
yeah.
It should. It should scare you, Malty, because it scares me too. But basically, towards the beginning of July, Flashpoint USA Live did a decree where they were making some uh, pretty hard point statements about being able to take back our nation for God. This particular story comes from Hemant Mehta, friend of the show, from Only Sky Media, which was posted on July 15th, 2020, and also another article by Mark Freund, I think it's Freundfelder on July 14th, 2022, with Kenneth Copeland's Christo-fascist Watchmen decree is straight out of The Handmaid's Tale. So basically, according to Hemmett's article, after explaining how conservative Christians are God's governing body on the earth and have legal power from heaven to destroy every attempted advance of the enemy, they declare the following. And I'm just going to read a few and then we're going to open it up. We decree that America's executive branch of government will honor God and defend the Constitution. We decree that our judicial system will issue rulings that are biblical and constitutional. And this is one of my favorites. We declare that we stand against wokeness, the occult, and every evil attempt against our nation. It's kind of crazy that they stand for stand against wokeness. What and I know that wokeness is a loaded word, but they stand against it. They stand against it actually taking over the nation, guys. So they said some other things that I would say, if I can decree, are some really scary things that we really need to watch out for. But I am curious to say what you guys think.
Well, I can say that when I went to Flashpoint Live's parent website and found out that the Victory Channel, that's what this was coming from, that this is a
Hmm.
Kenneth Copeland production, I made kind of more sense and became even more scary. I
Yes.
look at what they're saying right on their landing page, and the dog whistles are just so loud. Um, you know, Never before, under the common cause of love for country, for our God, taking a stand for our nation, and yeah, it is the things that they have been promoting in this tour, because this is the Flashpoint isn't, don't they just move from location to location and have like a revival meeting that they would
Yes.
then put on, and then it's like
Right.
it's an upscale tent revival.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. That that tour, it's kind of like the Pope does like a tour of his sorry tour, right? Sorry for fucking up you all in those really bad schools, and then you got this particular group of Christian nationalist pastors that's taking themselves to these different cities and what have you to put on these tent meetings so that they can declare their decree against wokeness. I was even trying to remember there was a scripture that I believe that they were coming from about the Watchmen, being on the tower, making sure that that the enemy does not come nigh the city. If I vaguely remember that particular scripture. Next time I'm actually going to be prepared with it. But this to me is them doubling and tripling down on making sure that they are helping to influence law to turn the United States into a theocracy. What do you think, Teo? I think you're muted too.
Maybe
Yeah,
we
you're
can go to
still muted.
Kelly. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well,
I
Oh,
was
while
muted.
Teo.
Okay, and yeah.
there you go. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
yeah. Thank you. Okay, I want to quote Alan Moore, 1987, who watches The Watchmen, because he created this comic. Read the comic, don't watch the movie. The comic is way better. And in here, they explain about how putting some people in charge of the society is extremely dangerous. How vigilantes everything can go wrong with them if you don't have somebody who is actually, when people are just doing whatever they feel is better without taking into account the security of other people, and sacrificing people just to achieve their goal. And as you mentioned, this thing about the watchmen, these people who are watching the enemies, who are the enemies? Most likely all this paneling here, people like us, people who dare to think, who dare to ask for equality, because check the article, the watchmen in their case are, let me quote, people who pledge to watch over the nation and make sure it's run according to conservative Christian principles. Christian principles, the ones taken from this holy book that says that you can own people and beat them to death, and women are inferior and they have no rights, and you can kill people like me who don't believe in their God and stuff like that. So extremely, extremely dangerous. I have said this before, but I'm extremely worried about the USA because we have seen this type of people getting to power over and over again. They want to turn the USA into a Christian Afghanistan, and I see them more and more often, and they are closer to achieving their goals every time. We were talking about abortion recently and how they were able to make the country regress, and that is scary as fuck, people.
No, we guess
I'm
what?
glad you
We
mentioned.
scared you. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kelly. I was just agreeing with you, Teo. Yeah, we scared too, but go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, well, I'm scared too. I'll get there. I was glad you mentioned Alan Moore's graphic novel, The Watchmen, because it's the first thing that I thought of when I read this article. And it seems like, and I don't know if they're getting it from the graphic novel, this idea that they're the Watchmen, or from the scripture. There was a crypto-fascist group that tried to kidnap the governor of Michigan, and they called themselves the Wolverine Watchmen. So they were obviously using the Watchmen from the comics. But I don't know if they are going after that, or there's one character in the graphic novel that really thinks the same way as they do. His name is Rorschach, and he's obviously crazy. So correlation there, I don't know. But it seems like these guys are now using the word watchman just the same way that they use the word brotherhood or knight. We're the good guys. We're the good brotherhood, the good knights, the good watchmen who are going to fight against the encroachment of liberalism and socialism. And it's scary. You're absolutely right. And you look at this and you see this is a group of Christofacists, and they're laying out exactly what they want to do. And it is incredibly scary. It should be to everyone. These people are the greatest threat to American democracy today, and we really need to do something about it. Now, they've been working secretly since the days of Ronald Reagan, who opened the door for them, and they've just been moving a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And now they've got Roe v. Wade overturned. They are turning this country into a Christo-fascist state. And we don't have to move slow like that. We don't have to pretend like we're sneaking around. We just need to stand up to them and stop it. We can do as much as they did in a shorter period of time because we don't need to sneak around and do it in quiet. There's also a lot of people who are on our side on this that are from the churches. There's a group called Christians Against Christian Nationalism, and a lot of churches belong to it. Episcopalians, some of the Baptist denominations, United Church of Christ, they're all members of this group. It's a huge group of churches that are coming together to fight these churches right here. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't use them as an ally and stand up with them. Sure, I realize we want to see the end of religion completely, but right now we really want to see the end of these guys. And surely we could use all the help we can. And
Yeah.
No, we can
you're
totally
right.
use those Christians to get rid of these Christians. We really need their help now. And the funny thing is, they probably think the same thing about us. Well, we can get rid of those atheists later, but we really need their help right now.
Well, let me tell you something, fellas. Guess what I found out? Hashtag atheism has been trending on Twitter for the last 6 days.
What does
Okay.
that mean?
It just means that there are more people who are lending their voice to non-belief in the dumpster fire that we call Twitter. But that to me shows that this group of non-believers is bigger than what we give credit for. And when you mention that particular organization, Christians Against Christian Nationalists, they actually work with the Freedom from Religion Foundation.
They
So
They partnered with
they're
them for the
yes, they did.
this January 6th report that they provided to
Sure
Congress.
did. Yes,
Yeah.
they did. Yes, they did. So I I am hopeful because when we look at a lot of the decisions, not just Roe v. Wade being overturned, but there was a lot of different decisions that came down from SCOTUS that were absolutely awful. Um, there are more people in the electorate that are against the decisions that SCOTUS has made that are of this Christian nationalist thought pattern. And even though I know that there are uh, people who are elected in the Congress, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and people of that particular ilk, and yes, Christian nationalists are not just people who are loud and like to make, Nicene creeds. These are very much so organized people who have the influence of elected officials on the state and municipal level and also on the federal level. But I agree with you, Kelly, to the point where it has to be a strong pushback of organizing to actually combat these particular decrees, this project blitz that's happening from the Christian nationalists. And this decree in of itself is just a edict of that agenda. That's all it is. I mean, like, one of the things that I believe that Hammett said is, while some of that is just a rehash of conservative talking points like wokeness and God-given freedoms, etc., there's no mistaking the idea that these people want total control of the government, or at least believe the government must adhere to biblical practices as interpreted by them and them alone. But the majority of the electorate do not think this way. And it has to get to the point where we are less of an apathetic electorate that's on the other side and actually participate in really pushing back against these ideals. And with that, let's go ahead and just get some final thoughts. Malty, I'm going to start with you, then Kelly, and then Teo.
Thanks, Cynthia. When I looked into the Victory Channel, I did see that it seems through time to be continually losing market share. They're not being able to spread their gospel as easily as, you know, as the avenues for them to be able to broadcast continues to shrink. So that scares me a little less.
I hear that, Kelly.
I'm gonna sound like a broken record and just tell everybody, get out there and do something. Every little bit helps. Put in a half hour a week of volunteer work. It doesn't take much, and a lot of half hours add up to a lot of many hours. So go out there and do it. I mean, just like I say, just 1.5 hour out of everybody, it equals a lot of work. And we need to stop these people. They really are a threat to our way of life.
Sorry, Kelly. So, as mentioned by the article, Kenneth Copeland, you know, he is behind Watchmen, this group who has declared war against the United States by saying, "We have been given legal power from heaven and now exercise our authority," and who has been quoted saying, "Who needs a government when you have the Watchmen running the show?" Clearly wants his group to take over, and that is scary as fuck. People, don't let a guy like this win, please. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and here's the thing, guys. Another reason why we need to push back against these people is because next thing you know, they're going to say, we declare that we should have as much money as possible to buy more private jets, because every last one of them people who was making Watchmen Decree are private jet owners. Why the fuck do pastors need private jets? What? Seriously, why do you need this? Okay. Moving on.
He said because we're demons.
So you can move faster than the flying demons.
Okay. Well, take that, atheist.